police officers in conflict-hit Boko threatened to resign if their request for immediate transfers from the area is not granted. All is set for Ayawaso East by-election as contenders file nominations for March 3 posts were live at the EC head office and other areas. Later this afternoon, President Mahama is expected to chair an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss financing challenges confronting the country's cocoa sector. Details of these and more in the next 30 minutes. You don't want to miss out. Stay with us. Let's begin the bulletin on the security front, and Minister for the Interior Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka has disclosed that a number of police officers stationed in the Baku and if their requests for transfers are not granted. He says several officers, including those manning checkpoints in the area, have been shot and killed over the past 3 months due to the disturbances in the area. Muntaka appealed to members of parliament from affected communities to help create a conducive environment for security personnel effectively carry out their mandate.
Between 25th of December and today, the number of officers that have been shot and killed in that area is alarming. Just the day before yesterday, an officer was shot and killed. And it makes it very difficult when you want to send officers there. People even go and beg that they have to be transferred. I have instances where you sit in the office and officers resign that if you don't transfer me out of that area, then I'd rather resign and leave the service. Why? Because the citizens there themselves are not helpful. To the extent that, Mr. Speaker, police officers that we put on the barrier, like checkpoints, people have courage to go openly and fire at them and kill them. Yes, in that area, to the extent that at the point that the IGP had to withdraw all police officers from checkpoints and had to insist that no, the answer is not to withdraw. We should rather be able to place them with armored vehicles. So when you create a situation where officers do not feel safe, and as MPs, we need to work with these security people so that we'll be able to create enabling environment within that area so that the security people will be able to assist and help us.
Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak there, the Executive Director for the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, Emmanuel Coting, joins us for a conversation. Mr. Coting, thank you for your time this morning. When officers stationed in a conflict zone feel unsafe to the point of wanting to leave, how serious is that from a national security standpoint, and also what does this signal about morale within the police service?
Well, thank you for having me, and good afternoon as always to your cherished listeners. In fact, it's a very troubling development, and from the operational point of view, what is happening is that the Interior Minister, and by extension through the Inspector General of Police, put some operational measures in place to reduce the fatigue among our men and women in the conflict zones. If you look at the Boku in particular, the conflict has raged for a very long time. And the situation where they post permanent police personnel there operationally is defective. What the government should do is have a standby force where they rotate them periodically. So if you look at the systems at our Ghana police as an institution, there's no help, especially psychological help for our men and women. They are on their own. And I think that it has brought a broader conversation about how we have to take care of our troops, especially in the conflict areas. So the personnel, to me, are right, and the Minister of Interior shouldn't be lamenting about it. He should rather look at how they can put strategies in place to arrest the situation. And the best option is to put a an operational standby force in place where they rotate them periodically.
Secretary, we'll come for us to talk about what government needs to do, but this request for the police officers, from the police officers wanting to resign or leave their post, is it setting a precedent for future security operations?
I think the personnel have been calling for help and they have not gotten that help. So if you are pushed to the wall and you have nowhere to turn to, it's better to safeguard your life than looking at serving in a capacity where nobody cares about you. So in the first place, the operational strategy the police deployed was wrong. What police have done is what I've told you. And if they have done that, and every personnel has an opportunity to go there like we do in peacekeeping abroad, this situation wouldn't have arisen in the first place. And the police are not alone. Teachers are running away from the area. Nurses and medical doctors are equally running away from the area. So it brings a broader perspective as to how we can get these ungoverned spaces governed.
Right.
Otherwise, we expose ourselves to other wider security dangers to our country.
And now the MP has also called on his fellow MPs who are in the house or who are in these areas to also help. What can they do to de-escalate the tension, as well as broadly, what can government also do to salvage the situation?
Practically, beyond the MPs making an appeal, there's nothing they can do. It's an operational issue. And the Ghana Police Service cannot say they don't have the men and women to have a standby force for our conflict zones to prevent some of these things. And when we talk of government, you know how our system works. The IGP practically is an appointee of the president. So he has to put those strategies in place, not only in the Boko enclave, other pockets of conflict zones that police has been stationed there for a very long time. And I think that we need to bring back the tradition where we used to transfer police personnel every now and then. Lately, you see a police personnel at a particular station over 10 years. It brings stagnation. It doesn't bring new energy to the overall performance of the service delivery.
Right.
So I think that moving forward, these are the things government and by extension the IGP can look at. More often than not, people want to be concentrated in the cities. And I had the opportunity speaking to the former Director General of Welfare, where he was lamenting about people in the hinterlands trying to take transfer to the cities. And for Christ's sake, Ghana is not only Accra, Kumasi, or Takoradi. So we have to look at a wider mechanism in place, like I mentioned earlier, to forestall some of these things.
Mr. Coating, thank you so much for talking to us. Emmanuel Coating has been talking to us. He is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Security and Counter-Terrorism, talking to us about that request by police officers to be reshuffled, or police officers wanting to leave the Bako enclave because of numerous attacks on them. This is the media news on 3FM 92.7. Let's go to the courts now. The Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, ordered the Attorney General to produce Ghana's agreement with the U.S. government regarding deportees for inspection by Lawyers for Democracy Hub. The plaintiffs, Democracy Hub, have filed a suit challenging the constitutionality of the agreement between Ghana and the USA for the deportation of some West African nationals to Ghana, citing that it is unconstitutional. The pressure group have also filed an application to injunct the implementation of the agreement and are praying the Apex Court to compel the government to release its agreement with the Trump administration regarding the deportation of West African nationals to Ghana. Let's connect with my colleague, Lord Edu Asare, who is joining us on the phone quickly for that conversation on what happened in court. While at that, let's listen to lawyer for the plaintiffs, Oliver Baka-Vomawo, even as he spoke to us after the hearing in the Supreme Court this morning.
Yes, so once we have seen the document and reviewed it, we'll then go back and reflect on whether to change anything we have order presented to the court, amend or augment our challenge. So the options are open. we might decide to also preserve what we have already put before the court as well. So we do hope that our access is facilitated as early as possible for us to achieve that.
But we agreed that this first, let's say, lawsuit here in the Supreme Court is over for now.
No, it is not. It's actually, we are still in the middle of the process. So now the matter has been adjourned for us to see the document and then come back to court, for the court now to be able to direct us to file legal arguments and then rule on the matter.
Okay. Oh yeah, for your arguments not to be based only on media reports and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So how soon are you expecting to go see the DAG to see this document?
Well, as we speak, our people are already working on a request to the court for a copy of the court's order. If we do get it today, we hope that we will already serve them a letter before close of business today. If not, latest early tomorrow, as soon as we're able to receive it. And pray that we're able to see that immediately, preferably no later than Monday next week.
Okay, thank you.
Oliver Bakavomawo is lawyer for the plaintiffs in that case. Lord Edwasari is on the line. Lord, we just listened to Oliver Bakavomawo, plaintiff for the case. Talk to us what this ruling means to the case subsequently.
Right, Grace. And so there are essentially three legs to this suit by Democracy Hub. You recall that September last year, President Mahama, in an engagement with the media, indicated that Ghana had accepted some West African nationals who had been deported from the U.S. on the back of some agreement that the government had with the Trump administration. Now, Democracy Hub filed a suit challenging the constitutionality of this agreement. So the first leg of this case has to do with their challenge of this document. The second one has to do with an injunction that they had filed through the Supreme Court to restrain the government from continuously accepting the deportees and then further deporting them to other countries as well. And the third of it had to do with an application for disclosure of this agreement. Because mind you, they filed the application of the suits on the back of the media reports about government agreements with the U.S. And so in their ruling today, the 5-member panel of justices presided over by Justice Scott Palmer indicated that already the Attorney General had in chambers showed the documents or the deal that government has had with the U.S. to the judges. And after scrutinizing those documents, they ruled or ordered that for balance of fairness, basically, the plaintiffs in the matter, Democracy Hub, should also see this document so that it will inform the case at the Supreme Court on this point. Because as for their ruling, they indicated that it will depend on what the action that the Democracy Hub will decide to take, whether they will file additional documents in their statement of case to buttress their matter, because there are still other legs in the case which are yet to be heard. And so the case hasn't ended at all. This is a final decision. They are now going to make some arguments properly in court, because the Attorney General maintained that the Democracy Hub, they don't have a case, because this argument, they don't need Parliament's ratification before they can come to an agreement with another sovereign country. So that's where we are right now. There's no next date of hearing, because once the lawyers of Democracy Hub have scrutinized this document, they will indicate it to the Supreme Court, and then they'll file a notice of hearing, and then the date will be given, and the case will go from there. So that was what Oliver was trying to say, that he's hoping that by close of day today, they will file for the full reason of the court, and then they will proceed to the Attorney General's office and see if they can get the document. So by Monday, they are hoping that things should have smoothened out, and they'll see how they can continue from then onwards, Grace.
All right, Lord, thank you for bringing us those updates. Lord Edwasari, my colleague, bringing us updates from the courts. Let's now take you to the presidency, because later this afternoon, President Mahama is expected to chair an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss challenges with the country's cocoa sector. Some cocoa farmers are yet to receive payment from licensed buyers in what has become a heated conversation between the opposition NPP and officials of the present administration. the cocoa sector has been riddled with persistent problems, unsustainable debt, declining yields, and a significant drop in world prices, putting pressure on availability of finances to support the sector. With pressure mounting on the current chief executive of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Yabe, President Mahama has called an emergency meeting to discuss the matters and find an answer. Let's take it to the presidency now and speak to Presidential Affairs Correspondent Komla Kluche. Komla, who are we expecting in this meeting, and has it even begun already?
Yes, the meeting has begun. I saw the Cocoa Board CEO, Randy Yabe, walked himself came quite early this morning and had the inauguration of the advisory board on the economy. So shortly after that, and most of the senior government appointees who attended are members of the cabinet. So the meeting just started shortly thereafter. As I speak with you, it is ongoing. It's also expected that they may be addressing the media, depending on the extent to which they go with finding a solution to the matter. So as I speak with you, the meeting is ongoing.
Right, Komla, what are we gleaning from the possible areas of this meeting?
We are unaware because cabinet meetings are not open to the media. The only thing you can get is a briefing after they are done with it. But some of the issues that we'll be dealing with has to do with how to find a lasting solution to the problems of Cocoa Board, but most importantly, the LBCs who have to be paid. And just like we know, I mean, it's the years they've been owed and they have to be paid. The cocoa farmer will need to be paid. That is basically the issue surrounding all of this. The president, we are told, is not pleased that the cocoa farmer is not getting the best for the efforts they put into getting cocoa for the country. And so a lasting solution would be put to this. The Minister for Finance is in that meeting as well. And, he is the spending officer, and so has to be the one that could be asked to really act on some of the directives for Cocoa Board to be put at a place where the farmers would have the gains for the efforts they've been able to put in.
Right, Komla, and we also know the other one coming from the presidency this morning was the inauguration of the Presidential Advisory Group on Economy. What was the president's charge to the group, and what are they even expected to do?
Well, members of the Presidential Advisory Group on the Economy includes the Vice President, Professor Hammoah Agyemang, Ishmael Yamson, Kwame Pieni, Nana Oye Mansa Yeboah, Dr. Cabinet before, Samuel Eson, Jonah, Mr. Ato Brown, Dr. Henry Kofi Wampa, Togo Afede, Abena Amwa, Priscilla Chumesi, Parfour, and Professor Patience Aswa-Abo. These are individuals who have worked in diverse ways and in fields where the president deems it fit because of the experiences they've had in the past. They need to independently advise the government. Mind you, it is an advisory group where the president himself also sits on. But in the absence of the president, His Excellency the Vice would be acting in his stead on the committee. But they are to independently advise the government on ways, especially what confronts the country after the DDEP, the debt situation of the country, and how the government should position itself and streamline the economy going forward is precisely what they will have to do. The issue of the IMF is also another one. The IMF deal comes to a close later next month or so, thereabout. And after it, they need to be able to position the country where, after the IMF deal, they do not have to go back to the HIPIC situation again. Is the reason why this group has been formed to advise the government.
Okay, Komla, thank you for bringing us those updates. Komla Kluche bringing us updates from the presidency. He is our Presidential Affairs correspondent. Now, let's go to the Election Command Center and talk some politics, because political parties and interested persons seeking to contest the Ayawaso East by-election have up to the close of day today to file their nominations. The EC set today, Wednesday, February 11, as deadline for candidates to file their nominations for the election seeking to replace the late Mohammed Nasser Toure. About 3 independent candidates have expressed interest in contesting the seat, along with the 2 leading political parties, the NPP and NDC. Colleague Joseph Armstrong Gold Alagba, who is at the Greater Accra EC office, reports that the NPP's Ali Baba and the NDC's Baba Jamal have both filed their nomination. The governing NDC yesterday cleared Baba Jamal to contest their election after concerns about voter inducement during the party's primary over the weekend, citing the tight deadline as basis. We are connecting the phone to speak to Armstrong, who is there. While at it, let's listen to Evans Nimakon, Director of Elections for the NPP, on the fortunes of the NPP in going into this election and why he's very confident they're going to win.
Patriotic Party, we are setting in our mind the constituency is ready to vote for our candidates. Alaji Baba Isif. It will surprise you. It will surprise you that the new Patriotic Party is going to win this seat this time around. All we know is that the party is sponsoring him. We have successfully filed our documents. And this is the beginning of the victory journey we have embarked. So, coming from the EC, we know not of any independent candidate. All that we know, and want the constituency Ayawaso East to know, is that their incoming member of parliament, the homeboy, is Yusuf Ali Baba. So when people go on the poll on 3rd March, the only person they are going to vote for is the candidate sponsored by the new Patriotic Party, the homeboy. And you say it once again, the Holy Quran made it clear that Dawood won against Goliath because the Almighty Allah, the most merciful, granted him the victory. So our candidate, Baba Ali Yusuf, is going to emerge victorious.
Director of Elections for the NPP, Evans Nimakun. Meanwhile, the EC is also currently meeting with political party representatives ahead of the March 3 by-election in Ayawaso East constituency. The meeting, among others, is discussing the modalities for the elections. Christian Yale, my colleague, joins us from the EC head office. Christian, what do we know about this meeting?
All right, great. So what we know is that this is a closed-door meeting. As always, over the period, you realize that when there is an IPAC meeting, most often the media would be asked to excuse the political parties and the Electoral Commission, and so would get reactions after the meeting has been concluded. And for the past 2 hours that I've been here, the man you just played his voice, Evans Nimakon, Director of Research and Elections for the New Patriotic Party, has come here. I engaged him briefly off record, and he tells me they are very much focused and they are looking forward to the outcome of the meeting, which will just be one to spell out the modalities for the upcoming by-election. Shortly after he had entered, the director or the acting director of elections and IT for the NDC, Madi Jebril, also entered, and he has his deputy as well, Tanko Computer, also in there. There are other political parties that are represented as always. And so it is a high-stakes meeting which is currently ongoing to, like I said, spell out the modalities for that by-election. Also because Ayawaso East has already stoked so much interest looking at the outcome or the fallout from the NDC's internal primary, which has now confirmed Baba Jamal as their candidate,
right,
and also the NPP's candidate as well. So we look forward to what the outcome is going to be, and
Absolutely.
then what message the Electoral Commission would put out there for the Electoral Commissions to abide by concerning that crucial by-election. Great.
Right. Question, thank you so much for that update. Let us go back to the EC head office. Armstrong Gold Alagba standing by. Armstrong, you have told us that you've seen the NPP as well as the NDC candidates. Do we know if any of the independent candidates are also intending to file or have been there this morning?
Grace, the line was breaking.
I was asking if you've seen any of the independent candidates there, because we know you've told us you've seen Baba Jamal as well as the NPP candidates.
Yeah. So far, about two independent candidates have also gone ahead to file so far. And then these are people who we are told came out from the NDC for reasons best known to them, Grace.
Talk to us about the atmosphere there and their enthusiasm, even as they submit their files.
Grace, it's as though we are still in the December days where you see a lot of party activities taking place here at the Electoral Commission office. You see both the NPP and the NDC coming to crash into each other. Earlier was that of the NPP. You see that came to file his nomination before he left the premises of the EC office. Then came that of the NDC, led by a lot of party supporters, and they came in their numbers, motorbikes leading them, and you see how the atmosphere was on charge, as though it is a national election that was going to be held again, but it's just a by-election scheduled for March 3.
All right, Armstrong, thank you for bringing us that update. We'll definitely come back to you in the course of the day to find out if all 6 of them have been able, or all 4 of them have been able to submit, and what the response of the EC is going to be going into that anticipated March 3 by-election in the Ayawaso East West Wagon constituency. But that will be it for the bulletin. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. I came to you live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda, Accra. Many thanks for joining us. Michael Ogbedu is standing by to bring us the latest in the world of business. Good afternoon.
M92.7. Coming up, President John Mahama inaugurates Economic Advisory Group amid cocoa board funding crisis.
Sustainable funding for cocoa and the cocoa board's capacity to syndicate effectively, something it had done successfully since the early 1990s.
Meanwhile, President Mahama calls emergency cabinet meeting as cocoa crisis deepens. Plus, Ghana Revenue Authority dismisses spare parts dealers' fears, citing transitional pricing errors. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories lined up for you. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying, and straight into our top story now. President John Dramani Mahama has inaugurated a 12-member presidential advisory group on the economy, sounding a sharp warning over the deteriorating state of the nation's cocoa sector. Speaking at the swearing-in ceremony at the Jubilee House on Wednesday, February 11, 2026, the president admitted that administrative and financial challenges have severely weakened the Ghana Cocoa Board's ability to secure its traditional syndicated financing.
Our handling of state-owned enterprises has also been uneven and at times haphazard. Weak governance frameworks, political interference, and inadequate financial discipline undermine institutions that were once engines of stability and credibility. We failed to raise sustainable funding for cocoa and the Cocoa Board's capacity to syndicate effectively, something it had done successfully since the early 1990s. And this was severely impaired. These are not points of blame, they are lessons in responsibility. Ghana's economic history teaches us humility. We have deepened our capital markets, expanded the range of domestic bond instruments. Yet we have also experienced painful setbacks, including debt distress and decline in.
You heard the President John Dramani Mahama. Meanwhile, the President has called for an emergency cabinet meeting today to address a mounting liquidity crisis within the cocoa sector that has left thousands of farmers without payments for months. The meeting follows a formal apology from Cocoa Board CEO Dr. Randy Abbey, who acknowledged the severe liquidity challenges caused by the collapse of the industry's long-standing syndicated loan model, with arrears owed to licensed buying companies estimated to exceed 10 billion cedis. Farmers across the country have threatened demonstrations, citing extreme financial hardship. Now, away from that, the Ghana Revenue Authority has rejected claims that the new Value-Added Tax VAT Act 2025 Act 1151 will trigger price hikes, describing the concerns of the Bosokai spare parts dealers as a fundamental misunderstanding of the reform. The response comes after the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association threatened a one-week strike, arguing that the shift from a 4% flat rate to a 20% standard rate would burden consumers and distort market competition. There is more in the following report.
The Ghana Revenue Authority says concerns about the new VAT regime are based on what it calls a fundamental misunderstanding of the system. In a statement, the GRA insists the shift from the 4% flat rate to the 20% standard VAT will not lead to higher prices. Under the old system, traders could not deduct input VAT of 21.9% paid on purchases. The new regime allows full deduction of input VAT, effectively lowering their cost base. Using a base price of 500 cedis and a 20% profit margin, the authority says a trader would charge 720 cedis under the new system, 40 cedis 66 pesos less than under the previous flat rate regime. The GRA maintains that price increases will only occur if traders wrongly include now deductible VAT in their cost calculations. It also dismissed fears of unfair competitions, explaining that the 750,000 cedi registration threshold is meant to ease the burden on smaller businesses and does not affect final consumer prices. The authority adds that the reform abolishes the COVID-19 health recovery levy, eliminates cascading taxes, and reduces the overall cost of doing business. The GRA has set up a joint technical team with GUTA to support traders through the transition and is urging all stakeholders to engage constructively with the reforms.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Away from that, the Minerals Income and Investment Fund, MIF, has released its economic and market outlook and strategic investment orientation for 2026, detailing a bullish year ahead for the Ghanaian economy. The report identifies global artificial intelligence adoption and strong precious minerals fundamentals as key catalysts for growth. This report has more.
The Minerals Income and Investment Fund projects that the US-China AI race will boost global productivity and infrastructure spending, offering Ghana a strategic window for industrial expansion. Economic growth is expected to strengthen due to increased state spending and a favorable monetary climate. Interest rates or yields on Treasury bill are projected to drop to roughly 10% following January's low inflation of 3.8%. According to the MIF Economic and Market Outlook and Strategic Investment Orientation for 2026, the Ghana Stock Exchange is poised for high returns as corporate earnings rise and rates fall. Gold and silver are projected to be bullish, driven by strong safe haven demand. With lithium, global surplus will narrow as electric vehicles and energy storage demand scale. Oil faces softer conditions due to high global supply, potentially lowering petroleum revenues. The MIF report concluded that its 2026 strategy will focus on diversification and resilience, aiming to protect its portfolio from geopolitical risk while positioning Ghana to benefit from the global energy transition and technological shifts.
And that was the 3 Business News Desk report. Policy analysts and agriculture experts are calling on the government to abandon one-size-fits-all interventions in favor of localized strategies to combat Ghana's stubborn food insecurity rates. The call for tailored solutions follows the release of new data showing a volatile food security landscape. After peaking at a staggering 41.1% in Q2 of 2025, national food insecurity saw a modest decline to 38.1% in Q3 of 2025. While the downward trend is a positive sign, government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu argues that the pace of improvement is too slow and unevenly distributed across the country.
For government, there will be the need to target high-burden regions, expand nutrition-sensitive social protection, link food security to jobs, and invest in education and rural resilience. But for civil society and private sector, we are calling on them to use the evidence that we have to actually target interventions and investment towards the most affected regions and the population groups, and also support livelihood diversification, food value chains, and affordable nutrition, particularly for vulnerable households. So what is government doing there? Can I go and partner government as a business person to provide whatever is needed to reduce food insecurity in those regions? So those are opportunities that the business community can take advantage of.
You heard that Dr. Alhassan Idrisu. He is the government statistician. Now, civil society group the Amahuro Coalition is calling for a review of Ghana's laws to ensure refugees can secure employment and contribute their skills to national development. Although Ghana's Refugee Act of 1992 grants refugees the right to work, move freely, and access public services, new research shows that administrative gaps continue to undermine these rights. Speaking at the launch of the Pathways to Employment Country Report, Principal Strategy Custodian for Growth at the Amahuro Coalition, Beshaba Asati, stressed the need for practical measures to support refugee integration. She highlighted access to the Ghana card as a critical step, enabling refugees to participate fully in the economy and strengthen their contribution to the country.
I think that a policy reform that we need to work on is how people who have experienced displacement or refugees can access the Ghana card. Because without the Ghana card, you cannot really integrate. So without the Ghana card, you cannot get SNIT, you cannot get Tier 2, you cannot get a bank account. There are some places you cannot even get a SIM card to communicate, right? So making it easier and accessible for people who have experienced displacement to be able to access the Ghana card is the starting point for them to be economically integrated into the country. So I think the role that private sector can play in hiring people who have experienced displacement or refugees is actually the openness and the flexibility in just recruiting some of these people. And when we say openness and flexibility, I cited when we were in the room that these are people who bring along very relevant and tangible skills.
You hear the Bashaba Asati. She is the Principal Strategy Custodian for Growth at the Amahuro Coalition, bringing an end to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. For more stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe.